that? When there was an error, they couldn't run the movie. And all of a sudden, the image would appear on the TV of a guy all wrapped up. We're having technical difficulties. Please stay tuned.
2 more minutes.
I had taken my nephew to this Jurassic Park thing and saw all these like dinosaurs, you know, and the T-Rex. He goes to come out and he's going and he hits the fence and he's just like, all the kids are like, what's going on? And then the lady comes over. In just a moment, our T-Rex is infused.
All right, roll 'em, Lester.
Well, the first thing on our agenda tonight is the recognition of Karen Gale. Has been on this committee for almost 30 years. I know how fast time goes by, Karen. We wouldn't know that it'd been that long.
I didn't recognize that either. I didn't realize I was that old.
All right. We're really sorry to see you go, but I know with the situation, with your business and your housing project, that you are going to go to a brand new home, and we hope you enjoy it very much.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. And as I said, you know, unfortunately, the lake view beat out my Parkway view. So both are good. But this works out well. And I think many of you know we have a special needs daughter. And she will be transferring as well to a new program through Threshold, which is actually, you know, we're looking forward to also. So I think it's kind of a win-win, you know. And some of that is getting down to, we've had that property since 2016, and prior to that, we had a different property on Little Cedar. And it's nice to get down to worrying about one property instead of multiple, so,
Right.
yeah, fortunate that we can do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you're
So-
certainly welcome to stop in, and anytime you're in the area, and stop in at the meeting. We certainly will miss you.
Well, I am able to wear proudly my City of West Dallas, so I can remember the city constantly. Which, again, and I've never lived out of the city since I was born, so,
Well, thank you very much for all the hard work you did over the years.
thank you.
Okay, the first thing on the agenda tonight is public hearings. Patrick, you
Approval of the
wanna-
minutes. Next item is approval of the minutes.
Getting way ahead of myself.
Yes.
The first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the May 14th meeting. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Second, is so moved in second. Is there any further corrections to the minutes? If not, everybody in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes stand as approved. Now we'll go to the public hearing. Patrick, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be reading this on behalf of the chairman. Public hearing regarding the proposed creation of tax increment district number 20, the proposed boundaries of the district, and the proposed project plan for the district. I call the meeting of the Community Development Authority of the City of West Dallas to order. I, Jerry Motter, Chair of the Community Development Authority, notice of hearing will now be read. Public hearing, as I just said. The Executive Director of the Community Development Authority has filed with the authority the notice of hearing. The affidavit of publication was filed as soon as it will be received from the official paper and as required by section 66.1333 of Wisconsin statutes. These documents will be made of the public record and the proceeding in this matter. The purpose of the hearing is to afford the full opportunity for all interested parties to express their views on the proposed consideration of the creation of tax increment district number 20. And this is in parentheses, 6400 block of West Greenfield Avenue, just for the record, north of Greenfield Avenue, City of West Dallas, and the approval of the proposed boundaries and project plan thereof. Following the closing of this hearing, the authority will consider and vote on a resolution designating the proposed boundaries and approving a project plan for tax increment district number 20, the City of West Dallas, Wisconsin. If adopted, the resolution will be submitted to Common Council of the City of West Dallas for approval as approved by section 66.133 of Wisconsin statutes. And this is now you're asking me. I will now ask Mr. Schloss, the Executive Director of the Authority, or his designated staff, to make a brief presentation with respect to the proposal before the Authority. Any interested parties in attendance may now express their views on the proposed consideration of the tax increment district number 20, City of West Dallas, and the approval of the proposed boundaries and project plan. And that's after the hearing. You will call on Mr. Chair on anybody that would like to express any comments.
Right. Patrick, you have the floor now.
Members of the authority, as you're aware, we've been talking about redevelopment of the 6400 block of West Greenfield Avenue. For some time, we bought the former Spot and the former Crawdaddy's restaurant for the purpose of redevelopment. And this also is a partnership with the city of West Allis in order to make a comprehensive or a holistic site for development. The image on the screen is around 0.86 acres. It consists of right-of-way and 5 parcels of land. These are the properties that are in consideration for this district. There is the former Crawdaddy's, the former Spot, and the parking lot to the north, the public space that's on the corner of 64th and Greenfield, and then a budding public parking lot. The project details include the developer demolishing the existing structures, constructing 8 townhomes and 11 apartments with commercials of around 2,500 square feet of commercial space on the first floor. The public space will be relocated to the corner of 65th and Greenfield and be around 81% of the current size of that public space. And this construction would start by fall of 2024. The parcels that are in consideration and will be part of the second public hearing tonight are under the CDA, would be 3, 4, and 5. And last week at Common Council, the council addressed parcel 1 and 2 for land sales. So this encompasses the entire area of the proposed TIF district. The TIF district we did consider making it larger, just for the record, but the problem is we can't guarantee there would be development in the other parcels at this time. And in order to get the financing to work on the deal and consultation with Ellers, our TIF advisor, it was recommended that we stay within the framework of the proposed project. This is the proposed site plan. You can see the 8 townhomes are on the left and top of the black dots, which are trees, and then the apartment building is on the right-hand side. The redevelopment will be structured, or the redevelopment plan or the TIF plan will be structured as a pay-go TIF. That means the developer has to finance the increment stream privately, and through the increment that is gained on the project, we provide a payment back to the developer that is after we take out an administrative fee for the district. The expected amount of pay-go, or the equivalent of is equivalent of 1.66 million in present value. We are looking at our 27-year TIF per statute, and if it can achieve the dollar amount prior to that date, then the TIF could close earlier. The land we are proposing to sell the land for $1. Within the development agreement, we do have provisions of construction savings. These are what we are typically called the clawback provisions. If you save on construction costs, then we should share in that savings, and we have a 50-50 provision. We also have a success sharing provision. So if the developer leases up early and gets a lower interest rate, that changes the overall structure of the deal, and therefore we're asking for a profit sharing of 60-40 if there's a IRR above 15%. The estimated amount of taxes gained by the development would be close to $1 million compared to when it was taxable of around just under $30,000. We did do, the developer did do a phase 1. There is some remaining environmental work that has to be done in order to get the project going. This was brought up before, and under the cost, we are recommending move forward with the environmental testing, but that's part of the development agreement. I just wanted to remind you that we do have that outstanding issue. It's really B2, that blue dot. I believe it came up back with some petrol-smelling soils in the geotest, so we have to do some additional testing in that area. Why is TIF needed for this project? Again, we looked at development projects with more density at the site, and the financial need was even higher. And the idea here was to provide, a product that is not available necessarily in our city, new townhomes. Here are 8 new townhomes. We haven't done a development like that in a while, in an apartment building with mixed use on the lower level with a public space. It's kind of a unique project, and it's not as dense as other proposals where we had 4 or 5 story buildings proposed with higher amounts of subsidy. This is 1.66 million. at this point, and of course the land sale for $1. But the developer is taking on the risk of tearing down the buildings and doing the management of the overall site. Why do we need TIF and the but for? If without the assistance, the project would not be economically feasible. We had Baker Tilly review the financials of the project, and it is marginal in terms of the returns on the project. So with the TIF assistance, it helps get it into a condition to attract private investment in terms of equity, and also a private lending institution to provide the financing. Overall, within the development, it's around $7.2 million. We mentioned the townhomes and the rental rates. You can see the apartments are around 210, the commercial space around 2,600 square feet. And the idea here is a small cafe that would have like a public patio on the western side and really activate the space along Greenfield Avenue. Overall, the developer is doing the demolition. The land value, if you looked at the parking lots and overall just the land, you can see the dollar amounts there of $148,000 to around $44,000 in terms of market value of the land parcels. So we're again gaining on the taxes in time, and we went over the but-for test. Again, new public space construction will start, and again we had Baker Tilly review the financials. I'll gladly answer any questions you may have relative to the development and the proposed TIF.
Are there any audience that have any questions for Patrick on this TIF? No?
We do have a representative from Ellers here tonight that has been part. Harry Allen is here from Ellers. If you have any questions about the performance of the TIF. And I know we've included Jason Kazmarek from Finance in the meetings as well to make certain that we're looking out for the best interests of the city.
All right, you have no questions?
Good question.
All right, I'll close it then. There being no parties wishing to address the authority, I now declare their hearing closed and will now proceed to the next order of business. Patrick, you want to do?
It looks like the next item on our agenda is item 4, which is a resolution to adopt the plan in the TIF boundaries.
All right, I'll read that. Item 4, resolution to establish boundaries and approving the project plan for tax increment district number 20.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved for approval. Is there any further discussion? If not, do we need a roll call for this one, or aye?
Yes, a roll call.
Wayne Clark,
Yes.
Karen Gale,
Aye.
Gerald Motter,
Yes.
Michael Suter,
Yes.
Donald Niemer,
Aye.
Martin Weigel,
Aye.
Dana Keen.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, we'll go to item 5. Public hearing to consider the sale of the CD-owned land located at the following locations. He does.
Yep.
Patrick, that one.
All right, public hearing to consider the sale of public land located at 6414-22 West Greenfield Avenue, 6424-26 West Greenfield Avenue, and 13 South 65th Street in the city of West Allis. I call this meeting of the Community Development Authority of West Allis to order. We did that. Jerry Motter did that. The Executive Director of the Community Development Authority has filed with the authority the notice of hearing. The affidavit of publication will be filed as soon as it is received from the official paper. As required by section 66.1333 of Wisconsin statutes, these documents will be made part of the public proceedings in this matter. The purpose of tonight's hearing, again, is to afford the public an opportunity and interested parties to express views on the proposed consideration of the sale of public land for the properties located as I stated previously. Mr. Chairman, it now says that you're asking me to provide any comments. I've outlined previously my hearing on the boundaries of the TIF, the land that is proposed for sale. It's 0.39 acres of land. The CD acquired the land in order to facilitate development. They are blighted. They are in poor condition. We did explore, just for the public record, a reuse of the Crawdaddy's property for a restaurant and the other properties to see if we could look at that. That option was just not economically feasible as well. So we did explore higher density and smaller business opportunities and did not find success with that. Gladly answer any questions you may have.
Is there anyone in the audience Are any, or all the persons out there have questions for us? Any from the board?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Alderman Weigel.
I just want to make some comments. So when the council took up the sale of the parkland and our parking lot, there were some objections from the neighbors. But they were about the parkland and the trees, and the neighbors, it was owners in the condominiums to the east. And if I'd have thought about it at the time, I would have mentioned that when those condos were first proposed, the neighbors to the north didn't like those because there was a taller building and they wanted the city to explore, I believe, single-family homes there, which wouldn't have been economically viable, just like apparently not much else would be economically viable here. I think there was one concern about what the building would look like. Do we happen to have an east elevation of what the new building looks like yet? No. I
Yeah.
assume it's similar to what the west elevations are.
So,
Yeah, people have this idea that we're gonna build big blank walls, you know, yeah, so that east elevation is gonna be similar to the west. Okay, yeah, so that was a concern, the lack of the trees was a concern, but I'm guessing those trees are roughly accurate in that diagram there, and something, they'll grow up, and in 50 years, there'll be big trees there, so. So, but I just wanted to share the comments from the council meeting on that, so.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Weigel.
just for the record, we do have the developer present relative, the interested party that made the offer to buy the CDA-owned property. If you have any comments that you would like, or questions of him, we do have Jeff Hook here representing the developer.
Right, I know, he's sitting
You
over
want
there.
me- I can answer, I can speak or not, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, on the tree farm.
Yeah.
It was a big topic, as you know,
Yeah.
from last
Yeah,
meeting.
and actually, it was brought up at the previous CDA meeting by a nice couple that lives next door, and then, met a couple other residents of the condos, and both times, it was just a matter of sitting down, understanding what we're doing, the reasons we made, the choices we made, and both conversations ended very pleasant at the end of it. Yes, the trees, as I told, the Glassels, when I talked to them last meeting at CDA, the trees are kind of the one part of this that I would love to have a better answer for, I don't. But we think that the choices that we're making here are actually gonna make this a better development and a better public space in general. To speak specifically to the east elevation, yes, there were some unfortunate misconceptions about what, almost as if it was gonna be an alley. When I showed them the elevations, which are virtually identical to this side, balconies, units, everything else is exactly the same, everybody's very happy with the architecture. Same thing with the street and the backside, so, every conversation I've had with anyone on here, even when they've had any kind of, concerns, it's always been very, very pleasant by the time we finished up. But to speak to these trees, so design-wise, we're actually working with, we're trying to work with Greenprint Partners, which is one of the grant funders with MMSD to try and look in incorporating some environmentally friendly concepts in here, whether it's some of these green roofs or rain gardens, some other kind of things. But one of the things we really want to focus on the park is that it's a little bit more human scale, a little more open and flexible. I think that's one of the things that when I look at the park as it sits, it's a little bit, a little dark sometimes, especially on a cloudy day. What we're trying to do is open it up, more green space so kids can run around and you can do other things that maybe you can bring music out, or you can do something else where visibility and space a little more useful. So that's the concept at the moment.
Any further questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Alderman.
Okay, I just let you know too, I talked to some of our residents fairly recently, in fact, and most of the time, and every one of the times I talked to them, what happened was when they found out that what it was gonna look like, or the preliminary layout of it, they changed their mind. They were very happy with what they saw. So, I talked to someone who was behind there, who was worried about what he was gonna be seeing, and then when he saw the picture, he said, that's fine, and he was someone who owned a business in the city, so I just wanna let you know that.
All right, thank you for your input. Well, and just from my opinion, the park that's existing now, it actually goes downhill quite a ways. And here you're gonna have a nice, flat, usable park, I think would be much better in the long run.
And I should say, actually, one of the really good comments that came from my conversation with the Glassels was, they asked that we make sure that we figure out strategies to make clear that it's public. You know, what their concern was,
Yeah,
they've seen
yeah.
developments like this where it could appear to be
feels
You know,
pride.
the front yard of this development, which I thought was really actually useful feedback, because we want it to be welcoming. I think that was good to hear from somebody that they, you know, they want to make sure that people walk past here, they know that this is public space and not a green space that looks in, that goes along a public street. So that's one of the things we're working on.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Seeing no other questions, I'll now close this public hearing. Closed. Item 6, resolution to approve the purchase, the sale, and development agreement with JJHC Group LLC for the multi-function mixed-use development for the property located along West Greenfield Avenue between 64th and 65th Street.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any further discussion? If not, Patrick, or Sean, take roll call, please.
Wayne Clark,
Yay.
Karen Gale,
Aye.
Gerald Mater,
Aye.
Michael Suter,
Aye.
Donald Niemer,
Aye.
Martin Weigel,
Aye.
Dana Keen.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Go to item number 7. Excuse me. Resolution to accept an offer to purchase of land located at 6414 22 West Greenfield Avenue. Tax key number 4390144-001, 6424-626 West Greenfield Avenue, and tax key number 4390145-002, and 1300 South 65th Street, tax key 4390146-000.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion? No? Okay. We need a roll call vote on, please take roll call vote.
Wayne Clark,
Yay.
Karen Gale,
Aye.
Gerald Mater,
Aye.
Michael Suter,
Aye.
Donald Niemer,
Aye.
Martin Weigel,
Aye.
Dana Keen.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We'll go to item 8, resolution to approve the development agreement between Land by Label LLC, Community Development Authority of the City of West Dallas, and the City of West Dallas for the multifamily development for the property located on the 4.5400 acre parcel on the southeast corner of South 70th Street and West Greenfield Avenue,
Washington.
11 South 70th Street, tax key number 4399006-000. Patrick, you have a resolution for this one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do have a presentation on this. This is, you might recall, we created TIF number 16 a few years ago. I think it was like 2018. And the idea was 350,000 square feet of new office buildings. A lot has changed since that day. Some of it's still the same. The idea is still to do some housing, maybe near McKinley Park. The concept is also to create a park. We have the Home 2 Suites that was built, that was completed, and is actually performing quite well, located within this. So, and 1205 and 1135 were updated, new skin on them, new improvements. The gauge came into this area, and we're seeing success. This is the next phase. So phase 1 was, complete. The next phase was stalled because it was going to be office, and now we're pivoting, and we talked about how to use, this acreage of land, and this is a project that would provide that unique architectural statement, gateway feature into our city. 246 new housing units. It's a 5 to, in some cases, I think 6-story building with underground parking, and we're going to get into those details. But the idea here, again, it is a pivot from what was originally in the plan, but I still think it fits in the context of what the idea here is to grow the tax base, to bring people within the neighborhood that will buy goods and services in the neighborhood. We have a big retail center just to the south, and this is just off the Hank Aaron Trail. So there are amenities nearby, and really an ideal location. And when we talked about what this should look like, in terms of 70th Street being a gateway, we talked about, and I don't know if any of you have traveled to East Madison, East Washington and Madison, when you come in, there are some significant new buildings, multifamily, that really set an interesting feel as you come into the community. And this is an opportunity for us to make a statement like that as a community. So turn it over to Sean Miller, and he will highlight the purpose behind the resolution and where this project is going.
Thank you, Patrick. As Patrick noted, this is a proposal for a 246 unit market rate apartment building on the southeast corner of 70th and Washington Street. Encompasses a little over 4 acres of land. The property outlined in yellow on the slide is currently owned by Cobalt Development. That was part of TIF District number 16. And Land by Label has an accepted offer to purchase that land for $3.8 million. We'll go over in the following slides the budget, outline the development agreement, go over some of the valuation guarantees, impact on the existing TIF 16, and then the general timeline. Just to review where we're at, this, we have presented this project to the CDA. Developer actually presented it on March 12th. We came back on May 14th to sort of introduce the things that you're gonna see in this development agreement. June 4th, the Joint Review Board approved the use of up to $3.75 million to assist on the front end of the project. And here we are tonight on June 18th, and then it would go for a final approval potentially on July 10th to the Common Council. Just a review of the project itself. See the site plan in the upper left-hand portion of the screen. You see the units along the southeast corner of 70th and Washington Street. There's a clubhouse that you'll see there, and that sort of breaks up the building on the east side. And sort of the rental breakdown: 32 studio units, 96 one-bedroom, 100 two-bedroom. And then this project has 18 three-bedroom, which makes it a little bit more unique than some of the other developments that we've seen. There are also many direct walk-up units on this, which we also haven't seen many of in other developments. So this kind of gives you a view of some of those direct walk-up units, some of the amenities like the pool and the two-story clubhouse area. You're gonna have a sports simulator, workout room, dog washing station, kind of a high amenity building that sort of steps up the game for some apartment units in the city. Also, very kind of striking architectural building that'll be seen from a gateway location in the city. This is just another view of the site. The view that you see on the right there shows what a second phase could look like. All that we're looking at today is the westernmost building that you see, the larger building on the screen. But there is a second parcel. This is an existing, a little over 7-acre parcel that's been broken up into 2 parcels. This is lot 1. Lot 2 will remain in the ownership of Cobalt Development. And that just outlines that. What could be built there in the future.
And red remains under Cobalt?
Red remains under Cobalt.
Are they renting that to Whitnall Summit?
They rent that. Yep. They rent that parking to Whitnall Summit. Whitnall Summit does also have other parking, including a 5-story parking structure.
I was gonna say that has 7 cars in it.
Just a view of lots of underground parking. It's again 246 units, so those units have to be accounted for with parking. So this just kind of shows the below-grade parking. And some of the connectivity that you can see that's been created. It's a very thoughtful project in that way, breaking up a very large block and trying to make it a little more accessible as you walk or bike the area or want to access Whitnall Summit. And also the future of Whitnall Summit, I mean, that surface parking area, if they can account for the parking within the parking structure, perhaps that can be developed. So that's just a future vision for that, and just kind of shows another corridor through. As you recall, to the south of this is the Home to Suites Hotel, which was recently developed and is doing really well. This just kind of shows the corridor through the site. We also wanted to give you a big picture idea of why this project's so important. This is just a master plan for the area that shows a lot of interesting things going on. We have a potential Rails to Trails project for the old rail corridor that came off the former, it's the former Hank Aaron Trails, obviously in place along the moving east to west along the north border of the city. This is a spur track that formerly came off that could be activated into a pedestrian trail and really provide a lot of value and interest to the area, take you down near the farmers market and through some of our other developments in the area. Would take you by our, Whitnall Summit, our biggest employment center, amongst other areas. Additionally, just to the east of that, there's likely to be a Washington Street extension that takes place as part of the state project for 94 expansion. So that should be put in place within the next 3 to 4 years. And will provide a lot of additional access and activity to this area. Also, the developer had Baker Tilly do an analysis of project impacts. It's easy to talk about what they might be, but they did an economic study of, as people move into this area, what do they do with their money, where would they typically spend it, and things like that. And, it shows that there could be a $63 million economic output over the next 10 years, with much of that being spent within our central business district, which is just down the block. So in order to set all this up to happen, as Patrick noted on the last project, interest rates aren't low, construction costs are high. This site is a former Alice Chalmers tractor site, and along with that comes some issues in the soils, and so there is some assistance needed. And so what we've worked from, what started out as a $7 million grant request, we've been able to work down to $2.6 million of upfront assistance, with the help of some of our partners at EPA. Would come in with a $2 million 1% loan, and then the DNR be our first use of Ready for Reuse loan, which is very good money at a 0% loan, $2 million. We think there's approximate $5 million of environmental contamination cleanup that has to take place as part of this project. So bringing those partners in made a lot of sense and helped to fill the gap that we didn't have to fill. Additionally, there's a request for TIF PAYGO, which, as Patrick described, is increment taken from the added value that they add to the site, and then borrowed by the developer. So in this case, it has a net present value of $9.6 million, and we would borrow that out over a 20-year period. This sort of lays out the schedule we noted prior. The overall sources of funds. It's important to note how much the developer's bringing to the table. They're bringing, nearly $17 million of equity and reinvesting their developer fee back into it at $1.8 million. And so, and then pulling a construction loan of nearly $48 million, creating a project total of near $73 million. Again, just to go into the PAYGO in a little bit more detail, just want to kind of show what it would look like. In this case, the PAYGO, the municipal revenue obligation, is we're taking out 85% of the value that they create and giving it back to them after they make their tax payment. We're pulling out 15% of it, and it's going back into the existing TIF to help fill up our obligations that we have in the TIF. So it's helping the existing TIF, where we do have borrowing that took place in the front end. So this helps mitigate some of our risk on that. So it's kind of helping us twofold. And then additionally, we are pulling out, similar to the previous project, we are pulling out admin costs on the front end before the developer gets their funds.
Just going back, if you look at this, and we can send this to you too, this model. I thought we might have in the development agreements, but there's an existing development agreement, and we're talking about a new development agreement with Land by Label. There are provisions that go into both projects. most notably, one of them is funds that would go towards a future park. That's within the framework of the existing, and we do have it accounted for within the framework here, that money. We have almost $650,000 based on where the value is on the existing TIF, and that money would go then into a fund for the park.
Thank you, Patrick. It also similar to the previous project, we have the typical clauses in this development agreement for construction savings. On this one, we can if there's some funds available at takeout refinancing, we have seen that come through for us when the project goes from construction financing to permanent financing, typically within a year, 18 months after completion of construction. There's sometimes some money available if interest rates go down, things of that nature. So we were able to participate and receive some funds on that end. And then also, as the project goes along, if the developer receives over 15% internal rate of return, we'd share on some of that upside as well. As Patrick noted on the previous project, we had SB Friedman reviewed it, and they have indicated it does meet the but-for test. In this case, there is some uniqueness in that this is within an existing TIF 16, which has some existing obligations from a developer, Cobalt Development. And so you'll see on one of the next few items here on our agenda that we do have an amendment on the next item to that agreement. So that's sort of what this references. That detail. We are pulling out 15%, and in return, and putting it into the existing TIF, and in return, Cobalt Development is still guaranteeing our debt shortfall and assessment value guarantee, and allowing this MRO to be pulled out and given to Land by Label, 85% of it to Land by Label. This just goes through that cash flow of the overall TIF. The red area that you see on there does kind of show the projected shortfall, which Cobalt Development is required to cover. Without this development, that debt service shortfall carries on for another 10 to 12 years and is a lot higher in value. So this project is crucial to help eliminate that. From a scheduling standpoint, in general, they're hoping to close on this in fall and break ground. Hoping to have a completion of construction in summer 26, and then have the project stabilized in 27. Obviously, there's many options that are on the table for this. The options certainly that we've talked about along the way and that staff is recommending is what you see as option 4 here, which is to utilize some of the TIF 7 funds to assist on this, utilize the MRO, and then use some of our partners to help assist with EPA and DNR along the way. So,
I do want to point out there is an option 5, just to even make things more complicated. The option 5 would be that you would do an overlay TIF, like we did in the 6 points there for Makers Row and the Mandel project. So everything that's there now would go into the existing TIF 16, and then you create a new TIF that would essentially, and that would go on a new clock. So,
Reset the clock.
right, but the problem is we still have, projected challenges with that in terms of the cash flow, and it would add 9 more years.
Right.
In this case, we're staying within the framework of the existing TIF and utilizing TIF 7 to get the benefit back to the community quicker. So that is one of the unique things. So there is an option 5. And we did review that with Ellers and with our finance director and considered that as an option. But this seems like a better, quicker option to get the economic benefit to the city.
that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Mr. Chairman, if gladly answer any questions from the authority.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
how many underground parking spots is it?
Is it 297?
Is there any, above ground parking allowed?
There's 67 at grade stalls.
Okay, thank you.
As well as you can park on 70th Street.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
Sona's got electric charging, vehicle charging in their underground parking. There's gonna be some of that. You're watching the market, see what happens with that. So this was only scheduled out for 20 years because we're essentially trying to finish this in the life of this existing TIF.
Correct.
And I think that was it. I think that was, this is Land by Level's first development?
I think they were approved in South Milwaukee for a project, or?
We have our first closing in Cudahy tomorrow.
Oh.
Congrats.
Okay.
And then we have another one in Cudahy, smaller 78-unit project that will close in June. And then this would be the next one.
So this is your biggest one, though?
Yes. It's the fastest too, for whatever it's worth. The Cudahy project started months before this one. And so I think it's just a compliment to.
Well, they don't have our development
staff.
team. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I know.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Alderman.
One more question. So, the monies for the park is in the first TIF agreement?
Correct. We'll talk about that more in closed session.
Yeah, well, that was my other question. You have.
We have more in closed
This is listed
session.
for closed, so we're gonna discuss.
We can
this
hold
in
this
session.
until after closed session.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so we're gonna hold item number 8 for closed session.
That's what we wanted to do, right?
All right, with item number 9, resolution relative to consideration proposed Fifth Amendment to the development agreement between the City of West Dallas and Cobalt Partners LLC, Tax Increment District 16, within the South 70th Street Corridor, West Corridor. Patrick?
Mr. Chairman, we kind of outlined these provisions just a moment ago within the development agreement. The main thing here is the existing development agreement says all MRO goes to West Quarter LLC. This is allowing the new development, Land by Label, whatever LLC, to be able to get that MRO and establishing the prioritization of the waterfall of payment. I know it sounds big terms, waterfall of payment, what is that? That's the increment comes in and what gets paid first, what goes second, what goes third. And we were going through that, and that's what helps get this project to the level it needs to occur. And in the way this project, in this amendment, actually makes things less risky for the city. And Sean, you can outline that provision in the sense that, and without this development, we have a TIF that would be challenged. Because we don't have a development occurring on the land that's sitting idle. And we do have guarantees from the developer, but those would rise over time. Getting this structure in here helps reduce that because we get the development going and the district stays, based on our projections, will stay flush with cash.
Right, because it's getting the spillover of 15% of the tax value created by the development, which is offsetting then the kind of what you see in the red box there, the debt shortfall payments that the city has to make for the bond that we took out to help pay for the initial borrowing. This development basically covers that, so it only shows 2 more years of debt shortfall because that's how long it takes really for this to come online. So this covers it, so it reduces the risk that way. You're less reliant on going to a developer to ask to cover a shortfall that the city has.
I did want to also share that we did, when the developer originally came in, it might have been around 170 units, if I remember right. And it was more of a at-grade parking. And in this, our goal was to maximize, we have one real big asset in the city, it's land. And we want to be able to build up and utilize that land to get the density there that really benefits the city. So we encouraged the project to put in more density. We think it's a great site. It's going to have views to the skyline on the north end of the building of Milwaukee, connection to Hank Aaron. It's a very strong, marketable site. And so density was crucial, but as we've talked about before, when you do that, you got to move a lot of dirty dirt. And we're helping with that by bringing in EPA funds to help with those costs, to keep those costs down. Otherwise, that has to be capitalized somehow. So we're being creative that way. Gladly answer any other questions you may have on that.
You wanna hold this one for?
Yes, please.
Okay, we're gonna hold that one also for closed session. We'll go to item 10. Resolution permitting certain expenditures up to $3,750,000 to be made within 1/2 mile radius of tax increment district number 7, Whitnall Summit TIF of the city of West Dallas.
We can take that one up after closed session as
All
well.
right, we'll hold that one also. 11, resolution approving stormwater indemnification agreement by and between the community development of the city of West Dallas and Mark Higgins for the property located at
Can you go
6620
to the
West Mitchell
Did I put it
Street,
in here?
Nona parcel number 1,
No.
the 6 Points Farmer Market redevelopment area. Patrick?
So, many of you know that the Makers Row land, which is adjacent to the Sona Apartments, we have Maker Row buildings on CDA-owned land. One of the big hurdles on this is relative to 16 feet of land. That 16 feet of land is what we want to sell to Higgins in exchange for release of an easement that goes towards the west through the development site. And we've been going back and forth here for a long time. And one of the big things is when Mandel laid out the entire site, a reciprocal easement agreement was recorded on the property. What is a reciprocal? It spelled out what property is paying for what, relative to all the dirt that was moved, the stormwater pond that was put in, et cetera, and the costs associated with getting like the electric, the roads put in. Everything was divvied up. And we shared this to the CDA prior of who's gonna be responsible for what cost. There is some cost there for the CDA in the sense that Lot 4 is still owned by the CDA, and Lot 3 is still owned by the CDA. But they want relief from that requirement. There's also a provision within, and we said yes. We also said that there's a stormwater connection that goes into this 16 feet of land. That stormwater connection was put in by Mandel because they needed to drain the pond that was put in for stormwater, but they couldn't get it in adjacent to that site because there's a large infrastructure in the middle of Mitchell, large gas lines and other sewer pipes. So they needed to go down to the catch basin at this site, so there's a connection there. So Higgins would like indemnification if they drove over it and it collapsed. Mandel doesn't maintain it. They don't want any liability associated with that. So we said, fine, we'll indemnify you from that. There's also a provision within, going back to the reciprocal easement agreement, that 16 feet of land could be parking. And they want relief from that. So those are the three things, and we, in consultation with our city attorney, said, okay, we'll indemnify that, and they're willing to accept that. So that's the framework of that agreement, and that's what break the dam in order to get things moving in terms of selling the land.
Construction of the approved townhouse.
And, well, that's another
Right. But this
project.
is holding that whole thing.
That can help get Lot 4 is not priority right now in the sense that we still gotta get Maker's Row occupied and then discuss Lot 3, and I have that meeting scheduled on Friday with Mandel.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Mr. Chair, if I may, this parking, about 16 feet, parking for who?
Right, for what?
It just goes, it was provisions recorded into the overall land use. And it's on that land. They also want release, I forgot, the release of the development agreement that covers that 16 feet of land. That the development agreement spells out you can't do a drive-through, you can't do certain things within that, what we didn't want to see in that area.
Right, we didn't want to see too many liquor store,
Yeah,
liquor.
and I've asked for an explanation of that. Not feeling comfortable with that release yet.
Do you have a planned view of this when we talk about the 16 feet? Or are we gonna have this in closed session also?
Yes, I thought I put it in, it may not have got saved in there, that's all. But I do have a site plan of it, and we can
Yeah.
bring that up during closed session.
All right, we'll hold 11 for closed session. We'll go to item number 12, discussion regarding the redevelopment area located at 13 Star South 65th Street.
We can discuss that in closed session, Mr.
Okay, we'll
Chairman.
hold that one. Item 13, discussion regarding the statute of 6771 West National Avenue and the redevelopment agreement with Baum Revision LLC, BR West Dallas LLC. Patrick or Sean?
I'm gonna have to turn this one over to Sean, but we have good news.
Yeah, we had 2 milestones sort of hit in the last week on this. We have executed the development agreement between the city CDA and Baum Revision for the sale of the property to Baum. The actual closing and land sale itself won't take place till the fall, probably late fall, as they have to work through all the detailed plans, which they are working through now. Have to get them approved by the National Park Service because they're going for historic tax credits, as well as the utilization of new market tax credits. But that agreement has been executed between the 2 parties, the 3 parties. And then the big thing that took place following that was Baum Revision signed a tenant to a letter of intent to occupy approximately 30,000 square feet of the space. It's an event space user, a local well-known event space user. They would divide, this is a little bit unique from others in that they divide the space into 2 potential event spaces so they could rent out 2 sides of it. Or you could rent out the whole thing, so it'd be movable walls, which did add to the tenant improvement costs quite a bit. And so they have asked Fire for some assistance on that. It does seem like Fire might be willing to step up and assist as long as the developer assists with some maybe sharing on the back end of the project. So, but very good news in those regards. Yeah, just wanted to give an update on that.
Keeping you all informed, so.
Go ahead, Alderman Whiting.
Is this tenant also gonna do remote events like a previous tenant? What it comes to, does this tenant have a fleet of vehicles that they lose to do, they're gonna do, it's the parking issue.
This is different.
It's a
This is a
different bird.
different type of user. This is the previous interested party was more of a support role for events. This is a user that has event spaces and runs events.
So they're not gonna be keeping a fleet of, likely not. They're
Not
gonna,
aware
they're gonna,
of.
they're still gonna have parking requirements.
Right.
But they're gonna be different.
There also is still 7,000 square feet of space to be leased, so I don't wanna say
We're
that somebody
not- we're
won't have
Not
vehicles
sure,
there.
yeah, cause they're not taking the whole building.
Right,
Right. So still, what the part that remains is the south end of the building where it goes down to 1 story. It goes from sort of the open bay manufacturing area to the 1-story addition. So that part remains open for lease. So we're continue to look for prospects for that end. But getting the main tenant gets it stabilized and gets things going.
I think they've even invested money into the architectural costs, so they're a shareholder in this now, so,
The tenant has.
yeah.
The new use does it require 2 air handling systems also?
I don't,
It's a very complicated
Yeah, I bet it is,
HVAC. So the 2 most expensive, the windows and the HVAC are the 2 major price points.
All right. So we'll go to item 14. Discussion regarding the development request for financing for proposed redevelopment of the former St. Aloysius located at 1405 South 92nd Street. You know, hold up for
we can
closed
close session, yeah. I don't have too much to report on it, but we'll talk in closed session.
Well, you know, I got a lot to say about it, so,
Let the bulldozers roll.
please.
Item 15, consider relative report on redevelopment initiatives. Patrick,
I don't have anything,
are there any questions to Patrick in regards to those items there? If not, I will read I gotta read this first, then we go to motion.
the closed session, yes.
All right, for agenda of items 16 to 14, the committee convened in closed session according to the provisions section 19.85/1/E of the state statutes for the purpose of deliberating, investing public funds wherever competitive nor bargaining require a closed sessions. This committee may convene in open sessions after the completion of the closed session to consider the balance of its agenda. Can I have a motion to go
Will we
into
go into
closed?
closed session?
Time.
Take roll call, please, Sean.
Wayne Clark,
Okay.
Karen Gale,
Aye.
Gerald Bonner,
Aye.
Michael Suter,
Aye.
Donald Niebuhr,
Aye.
Martin Weigel,
Aye.
Dana Keen.
Aye.
I know, close.